It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Colorado Rockies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday evening to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Rockies come into the game tied for first place. Each team 7 wins and 3 defeats. However, the Dodgers red hot at home. They've won 5 straight here at Dodger Stadium, and they have beaten Colorado at Dodger Stadium 7 straight. As far as the Dodgers are concerned, they follow Kershaw's victory last night, and they bring up Zach Greinke. Greinke was 3-0 against Colorado last year. He is 5-1 lifetime as a Dodger against them, but his numbers are even more impressive. Since coming to the Dodgers, Zach Greinke is 19-1 against the National League West. And as a Dodger pitching at Dodger Stadium, he's 19-4. On the mound for the Rockies, they just had their 6-game winning streak snapped last night. They will have Jordan Lyles, right-hander, 1-0 for the year, but 0-2 against the Dodgers, both of his defeats here at Dodger Stadium. And one other note, when you're saluting Dodgers, take the bullpen collectively. The Dodger bullpen over the last 15 innings has allowed 1 run, 23 strikeouts, and the opposition is hitting 120. Wow. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. To you, wherever you may be. We're here at Dodger Stadium. It's a gorgeous time of day, although the hitters might have some problems because it's so bright and shiny. The lights really don't take that much of an effect. The Dodgers have taken the field. They've won 5 straight at home. They have won 7 straight at home against the Colorado Rockies, who of course came in here having won 6 in a row on the road until they ran up against Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers last night. So tonight, Walt Weiss, among other things, has his pitcher hitting 9th. If you remember last night, the pitcher, Kyle Kendrick, batted 8th. Here's the lineup for Walt. Charlie Blackmon in center field, followed by Carlos Gonzalez in right, Troy Tulowitzki at shortstop, and Justin Morneau, the batting champ of last year, at first base. Nolan Arenado, the great young third baseman, Corey Dickerson in left field, Nick Hundley will be the catcher, DJ LeMahieu, a Gold Glove at second base, and Jordan Lyles on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Zack Greinke. His numbers are rather remarkable, 1-0 after a gem he pitched in Arizona. As far as the Rockies are concerned, 3-0 against them last year, 5 in one lifetime as a Dodger, and the numbers here at Dodger Stadium are staggering. Zack Greinke, as a Dodger against the Western Division, is 19-1, and all of his time with the Dodgers here at Dodger Stadium, he is 19-4. So a pretty tough act to follow as Greinke prepares to pitch to Charlie Blackmon, followed by Carlos Gonzalez and then Troy Tulowitzki. Blackmon, among other things, had a great at-bat last night in the 5th inning, going head-to-head with Clayton Kershaw. He battled him for 9 pitches, and on a 3-2 pitch, he hit a big home run with a man aboard. That tightened up the game to 4-3, but the Dodgers pulled out and won eventually 7-3. But it was still a great at-bat for Charlie Blackmon. Charlie, a good hitter, twice last year. He went 5 for 5, including once against the Dodgers. Left-hand batter. Outfield plays him about straight away, however. And the first pitch to Charlie finds the mark for a strike, and the count 0-1. Tough time of day if you're Yasiel Puig in right field, or for that matter, Carlos Gonzalez. All of the sun, it seems, is aimed right at the right fielder. No balls and 1 strike to Charlie Blackmon. And the left-hand hitter looks at a pitch off the plate. Charlie's from Big D, Dallas, Texas, but he went to school at Georgia Tech. He was drafted as a pitcher twice, the Marlins out of high school and the Red Sox, but eventually went to the outfield and was signed by the Rockies. The 1-1 pitch is swung on, whack to right. It's hooking away from Puig, dropping for a base hit. Blackmon with good running speed, strong throw, but he's in there with a fly ball double. So Blackmon begins the night with a sun double to right. And now it's up to Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, and Morneau to pick him up. Up north, the Giants are playing with the D-backs. No score in the first inning as we take another look on TV of the double by Blackmon. What's important about the Giants, they're getting their 2014 World Series rings prior to the game tonight. They're the first defending champions in Major League history to lose each of their first 5 home games of the season. And actually, it's worse than that. The Giants have lost 8 in a row. Jake Peavy, bad back all spring and just went on the DL today. The pitch to Cargo is foul back, and the count 0-1. Carlos Gonzalez, a terrific ball player, however, struggles a great deal against Clayton Kershaw, and they sat him down last night. Hitting .231 with a home run, 5 RBIs, but he has always worn out the Dodgers in his career. He has 15 home runs, hitting about .333. So Gonzalez waiting, holds up on a pitch high, 1 ball and 1 strike. To be specific about Cargo, he's hitting .353 with 2 home runs against Greinke. So handle with care right now for the Dodger right-hander. Gonzalez waiting, Blackmon at second, nobody out. Greinke at the belt, looks back at second, works one hit up wide of third, in the hole at short. Rollins backhands, throws, and gets him. And with the ball hit ahead of him, there wasn't anywhere for Blackmon to go. So a nice play by Jimmy Rollins. Gonzalez runs well, and as a left-handed batter, he had the extra 3 feet. Uribe couldn't get it. It was backhanded by Jimmy, and his throw was right on the money. So 1 out. Blackmon holds at second base, and Troy Tulowitzki coming up. Tulowitzki last night singled in the first inning and homered in the fourth, and then the last 2 at bats struck out and popped up. Tulo, one of the outstanding young players in the game, and as far as Greinke is concerned, hitting .300. 9 for 30, 1 extra base hit, a double. Tulowitzki with 14 hits so far this year, 6 runs batted in, including that home run last night. Deep in the box, Greinke looks at Blackmon, comes low and away. 1 ball and no strikes. Nice block by Yasmani Grandal. Dodgers and Rockies play 1 more game tomorrow. Dodgers then hit the road tomorrow. Eddie Butler and Brandon McCarthy at 1:10. Dodgers leave Monday to go up to San Francisco and then to San Diego and come home to play the Giants. 1 ball and no strikes. Tulo, a straight up hitter, swings, strokes a line drive base hit. That'll pick up the run. It's knocked down in left field by Ethier, and that allows Tulo to go into second base on the error. So a line drive single by Tulowitzki cashes in Charlie Blackmon, and then Tulo takes second on the error by Andre Ethier. So same old Tulowitzki, marvelous ball player, clean single. Tried to backhand it, did Ethier, and he just couldn't do it. So the run scores as a runner in scoring position. 1-0 Colorado, and now last year's batting champ Justin Morneau checking in. So Morneau, a very talented left-hand batter. He sat down last night when Kershaw was pitching, and he swings, fouls it away, and the count 0-1. Justin Morneau joining distinguished company, Rockies batting champions Galarraga, Larry Walker, Todd Helton, Matt Holliday, Carlos Gonzalez, Mike Kadire, and Justin. However, Justin, who won it last year, won with the lowest batting average, just .319. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way. Greinke's high and inside and hits Morneau, and he'll be awarded first base. So for Zach Greinke, a very shaky beginning. A double, a single, and now a hit batter. While we have a moment, let's check the Dodgers with the leather, and they shape up this way. It's Gonzalez and Kendrick, Rollins and Uribe, Ethier, Peterson, and Puig. Grandal behind the plate, handling Greinke. So runners at first and second, and the batter now is Nolan Arenado. Arenado hitting .316. He has 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in. He has only struck out twice. An extremely talented young third baseman. So 2 on, 1 out. Arenado at the plate. Greinke trying to get out of a jam, and the pitch in the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes. Good save that time by Yasmani Grandal, who got quite a few compliments when he caught Greinke in Arizona, and then got some more compliments from Clayton Kershaw last night. So Grandal trying to outthink Arenado. Nolan, a Gold Glover 2 years ago. Last year had 18 home runs. Greinke ready, comes back, and the fastball in for a strike, and the count 1-1. The plate umpire tonight is Tim Timmons, working on his 16th year. The pride of Ohio State. The Buckeye, he was born in Ohio, but he lives in Florida now. 1 ball and 1 strike. The next pitch by Greinke, hard ground ball to Uribe, on the bag for 1. A bounce to Gonzalez. They get the double play. So the Dodgers get out of it cheaply enough Another nice play by Juan Uribe. 5-3 for the two, and at the end of half an inning, 1-0 Colorado. Struggled, double and a single, but came up with a double play to get out of it cheaply enough. So 1-0 in favor of the Rockies. The Dodgers now have scored 3 runs in each of the first inning in the last 2 games. So we'll see what they do tonight. Jimmy Rollins at short, Yasiel Puig in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, and Howie Kendrick at second. Yasmani Grandal, the catcher, Andre Ethier in left, Juan Uribe bats 7th at third, Jock Peterson in center, and Zach Greinke on the mound. On the mound for Colorado, Jordan Lyles, big fella, 6'4", 210, out of South Carolina. A great high school athlete in baseball, football, and basketball. And the big guy's first pitch to Jimmy Rollins off the plate, ball 1, 1-0. In high school, he committed to South Carolina. He was going to go and play football for the Gamecocks, and then instead the Astros got him. And Rollins, a high fly ball to center, going back a bit and waiting as Blackman and Charlie makes the catch. So Rollins a fly ball, 1 out, and Yasiel Puig coming up. Here are the Rockies defensively, holding on to a 1-0 lead. Morneau, LeMahieu, Tulowitzki and Arenado, Dickerson, Blackman, and Gonzalez. Hundley behind the plate, handling Jordan Lyles. Yasiel Puig had that tricky hamstring, so he was out of the lineup for a couple of days. Back in, hitting .222. Maybe perking up a little bit at the sight of Jordan Lyles. Right-hander doesn't have much of a wind-up. He just delivers, and it's hit foul down the line. 0-1. Couple of baseball notes on Jordan Lyles. His best month in pitching appears to be April, 4-0, with a good ERA of 2.8. His first 50 pitches in a game, he does very well. From the 4th inning to the 9th inning, however, his earned run average is over 6. Strike 1 pitch is low, 1 ball and 1 strike. And of course, if a hitter has a shot at him the 4th time around, the batting average is .459. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and Puig swings, fouls it away. Another thing about Jordan Lyles, being 6'4", you can run on him. In fact, the percentage of success against him is 79%, 27 out of 34. He is very tough on right-handers. Coming into the game, they're batting .136 against him. So Lyles working on Puig, over the top, and that's low, gets away from Hundley, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. So Yasiel, they had that slight hamstring, and they weren't going to take any chances. Once you feel it a little tight, it's best to stay out of the lineup rather than bite the bullet. Next thing you know, you pull it, and you're really out of business. 2-2 pitch, and Puig takes another one in the dirt. 3-2 the count. 1 out, first inning, and the Rockies lead the Dodgers 1-0. Interesting too, in breaking down with Gonzalez on deck, Lyles, the first 6 hitters in the lineup this year, are batting 194 against him. It's the bottom of the heap that's gotten him. Fastball, line drive, backhanded by Arenado. Boy, that great young third baseman, and that was a blur, and he was somehow able to react and backhand it. So Puig losing an extra base hit. He ripped the ball, and Arenado was able to stab it for the out. So 2 down, and now Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Gonzalez leads all of baseball with 22 hits. His batting average is .550. His slugging percentage is out of sight. On base percentage is over .600. So he right now is the master of the house, Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez checking in against the right-hander Jordan Lyles. Big guy delivers, and the pitch is swung on and popped up on the right side. It'll either be LeMahieu or Morneau, and it is LeMahieu. So the Dodgers scoring 3 in the first inning, 2 straight, but not tonight, Josephine. They go down 1-2-3. And at the end of an inning, 1-0, Colorado. Doubled, and a single by Tulowitzki picked him up. Zach Greinke ready to go against Dickerson, Hundley, and LeMahieu. For Zach Greinke, he's always done very well in April. He's 19-7 during his career. That's a +12. And Corey Dickerson will lead it off. Dickerson struck out twice last night and had a single against Clayton Kershaw. The left-hand hitter checks in, looks at the first pitch off the plate, ball 1. Both teams have some fine hitters, especially with runners in scoring position. Like Dickerson, he's 7 for 14 with runs batted in. That gives him a total of 10 already in 10 games. The 1-0 pitch on the way, drops in nicely. 1-1 the count. Boy, what a lovely evening at 6:27 here in Los Angeles. Dickerson out of Mississippi, another fine all-around athlete. Played baseball, football, and basketball in high school. 6'2", a solid 210. Dickerson has a look at a pitch off the plate, and that runs the count. 2 balls and 1 strike. Dickerson coming up last year, very impressive, and he hit .312 with 24 home runs. So he's a very fine young hitter. The 2-1 pitch on the way. A comebacker speared nicely by the Gold Glove on the mound, and Greinke flips it over to first. That's quite a combination. You have a Gold Glove pitcher who also won the Silver Bat Award, and for good measure is a Cy Young winner as well. So one away in the second inning, and the batter now will be Nick Hundley. Hundley, the young catcher who broke in with the San Diego Padres back in 2008, left the Padres, went to the Orioles, and now here he is with Colorado. Greinke starts in fastball strike at 90. No balls and 1 strike to Nick Hundley. 6'1", 210. He'll be 32 in September. His father, a wonderful football coach. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and that's taken in the dirt, 1-1. In fact, his dad rejoined Rick Neuheisel at UCLA back in 2009. In fact, everybody, I think, in that family and everyone who knew the Hundleys expected Nick to be a football player, but he opted to go the other way for baseball. The 1-1 pitch swung on, sprayed foul upstairs off to the right, second level. 1-2 to Nick Hundley. He had one power year with the Padres. That's when he hit 13 home runs. Otherwise, basically, he's up there to make contact and drive the ball to the gaps. Outfield, almost straight away. The 1-2 pitch on the way, taken high, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Greinke in his last outing, 7 scoreless innings against the D-backs. 2-2 the count to Hundley. Zach rocks, ready, here he comes, swung on, little foul ball coming over as Adrian Gonzalez to backhand it in front of the Colorado dugout for the second out. Another Gold Glove over there and another silver bat at first.
Number 9, second baseman.
So 2 down. DJ LeMahieu coming up. The first thing you notice about LeMahieu, that he's a big fella to play the infield, and then you notice that he's hitting .474. LeMahieu, a second baseman at 6'4". Big right-hand batter, swings, fouls it away. We mentioned it last night, the fact there has been another very big second baseman, and he was called High Pockets. His name was George Kelly. High Pockets Kelly played for the New York Giants. LeMahieu takes a pitch that misses, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. DJ back up and checking. 2 down, second inning, 1-0 favor of Colorado. Greinke over the top, and he's high. 2-1 the count. Zach hitting 90, has made 25 pitches. LeMahieu came to the Colorado Rockies in a deal with Chicago. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way, and DJ looks a strike. 2-2. Might as well be glad he's not playing for Chicago. It was very cold at Wrigley Field today. Everybody wrapped up. Fellas wearing knitted face masks, etc. Padres got a bunch of runs in the 9th, and the Cubs wound up winning it anyway. Pitch fouled away out of play. In that game marked Matt Kemp's first home run of the year. And it was also somewhat of a shock to San Diego. The great reliever, the closer, Craig Kimbrell, he was the losing pitcher. So San Diego with a record now of 7-5. They'll be a game and a half behind the winner of tonight's game here. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up. Swung on late, fouled away upstairs. Late on a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. So Nick Hundley backs out for the moment. LeMahieu, meanwhile, up there battling. Hundley was late and popped up in foul ground, and LeMahieu was late. And again, as we mentioned, the lights don't really take much of an effect at 6:30 or so. So it is somewhat of an advantage for a hard throwing pitcher. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And the pitch of the plate on the inside corner, strike 3 called. LeMahieu punched out, and down he goes. A 1-2-3 inning. First strikeout for Zach Greinke, and at the end of an inning and a half, Rockies 1, Dodgers nothing. This year we're celebrating with a Cy Young Pin Collector Series presented by 76. Number 2, Don Drysdale, Monday the 27th, the Dodgers and the Giants. Meanwhile, here's Howie Kendrick, who looks at the first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Kendrick last night hit a home run in the first inning with Gonzalez aboard and doubled to drive in another run in the 5th inning. Howie takes high and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Howie off to a great start. Jordan Lyles delivers, fastball low, kind of swung on and missed, down and in. And the count 1-2. Giants got their World Series ring, immediately scored a run in the first inning and lead the Diamondbacks 1-0. They're now in the top of the 2nd inning. Lyles looks down the barrel, getting a sign from Hundley. Jordan turns, ready, and his 1-2 pitch pulled back a third by the diving Arenado and down the line. Hendrick on his way for his second double. Up with it is Dickerson, and Howie holds with a double last night. He picks up right where he left off. So Howie Kendrick pulls one just over the bag by the diving Arenado and all the way down the line. And by the time Dickerson comes over to get it, the Dodgers have the tying run at second base and nobody out. Now Grandal, Ethier, and Uribe trying to get Kendrick home. He has 5 doubles. Grandal has a streak going. The switch hitter, batting left-handed, takes inside at the knuckles. 1 ball and no strikes. Grandal has reached base safely in 19 straight games. Yasmani hitting .208, doing a good job behind the plate. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's taken off the plate, ball 2. Grandal last night kept his streak alive. He had a walk, scored a run on a wild pitch, and also single a left. 1-0, Colorado. Bottom of the second inning. The 2-0 pitch, line drive into right field, base hit. Over to cut it off and backhanded is Gonzalez. Yasmani will hold with a long single. Scoring is Howie Kendrick, and we have a 1-1 tie. So that's 20 games in a row that Grandal has gotten on base safely. This time, base hit and run batted in. So Yasmani hit it hard. It looked at first it might be for 2. However, Cargo covers a great deal of ground out there, backhanded it, and he has a very good arm as well. So Grandal, with nobody out, wisely held on at first base. And here's Andre Ethier. Andre Ethier played right field last night, had a single walk and a sacrifice fly, hitting .350 with a nice little 5-game hitting streak. So he spelled right field when Puig was out, and he gives Carl Crawford a rest in left field tonight and takes way off the plate, one-handed by Hundley. 1 ball and no strikes. One, bottom of the second inning. Howie Kendrick, line drive double, and Grandal picked him up. 1 ball and no strikes. Lyles ready. Jordan delivers. Looked like a pretty good sinking fastball. Swung on and missed, and they count 1-1. You know, when you talk about Howie Kendrick, he is such a solid all-around ball player. I mean, the more you see him, the more you not only like him, but you really respect his overwhelming abilities, as he talks to another gifted player, Adrian Gonzalez. Kendrick, lifetime here at Dodger Stadium, is hitting .359. 1-1 pitch, that's a little high. Ball 2, 2-1 the count. Yeah, I do remember every time we played the Angels, whether it was an exhibition game or a true game, you'd always leave the series thinking, that Kendrick, every time he hits the ball, he hits it hard. So the Dodgers really have some strength around second base with Rollins and Kendrick. 2-1, Ethier fouls it back, and the count 2-2. Dodgers and Rockies all locked in 1-1. They're also locked in atop the heap, tied for first. Each team having won 7 and lost 3. Interesting, the Dodgers 6-1 at home. The Rockies are 6-1 on the road. Dodgers are 1-2 on the road. And on the road, the Rockies are 6-1. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Ethier swings and doesn't get it. So Andre strikes out, 1 out. And the batter now, Juan Uribe.
Number 5, third baseman.
So Lyles picks up his first strikeout. Juan Uribe is struggling with the bat, but he is still dazzling with the glove. He turned that fine heads-up double play on the ball hit by Arenado in the first inning. So the 36-year-old solid third baseman checking in, coming off a big year last year. Remember, he hit .311 and had 9 home runs, 54 runs batted in. Lyles delivers in at the knuckles. Ball 1. 1-0 to the man from Palenque in the Dominican Republic, Juan Uribe. Uribe will be 36 in July. 1 ball and no strikes. Throw to first. Back on the bag is Grandal. Uribe has really missed the clutch, especially in the month of September. He hits twice as many home runs in September than any other month. He's hit 53 of them in those clutch days. The 1-0 pitch, little roller to the right side. The quick feed for 1. The throw to first, double play. So Uribe kills 2, as they say, but the Dodgers get the tying run. A double by Kendrick and the single by Grandal. And at the end of 2, a 1-1 tie. will be the number 9 man. That's Jordan Lyles, followed by Charlie Blackmon, and then Carlos Gonzalez. And if anybody gets on, the very troublesome Troy Tulowitzki. Lyles has made only 23 pitches, so he's very much in this ball game. Greinke has made 29 pitches, and we're 1-1, top of the third. Jordan gives Greinke a good strike zone. He's 6'4", bends a little bit at the knees, and the first pitch he has a look and pays a strike for the privilege. Jordan Lyles came to the Rockies in the deal that sent center fielder Dexter Fowler to the Astros. Strike one pitch coming up. Greinke delivers a little roller slowly up along third, got by Uribe, and the throw is in time. So Lyles taps to third. One down here in the third inning. Charlie Blackmon coming up.
Number 19,
Charlie Blackmon opened up the game with a double to right field. Also a reminder, right field is no longer a sun field. That first inning, it had to be a little tough trying to get a jump on a ball in right field. Not now. About 6:45. We're in the third, one out. So Blackmon doubled, scored the run. Second time around. Greinke rocks and turns. Right-hander over the top, changeup off the plate. Came up there at 73. So 1 ball and no strikes. We told you that in his career, Greinke has been somewhat overwhelming. 19-7 in April. Not so in May and June. The next pitch, in for a strike, 1-1. In May, 19-17. In June, 21-19. Then July, he's always struggled, maybe fatigue. In his career, 14-23 in the month of July. And then he recovers nicely in August and September. He misses low to Blackmon. 2-1 the count to Charlie. In August, in his career, 23-13. And in September, the best of all, 28-10. Now the 2-1 pitch to Blackmon. He has a look, and it's on the outside corner. 2-2 the count to Charlie. Blackmon backs out for the moment. On deck, Carlos Gonzalez. Grounded to short his trip. Now the pitch coming up. Blackmon swings, hits it on the hands. A ground ball to Kendrick in time for the out.
Number 5.
So Greinke led the double to Blackmon, a 1-out single by Tulowitzki, and he hit Morneau. But he has turned around now to retire 6 in a row, and it's the second time around for Carlos Gonzalez. The multi-talented Cargo. Gonzalez off to a slow start, but that will change. He has a look at the first pitch, a high strike, 0-1 the count. Carlos has power. He has a lot of good things going, and yet he strikes out about 8% of the time. That's all. The strike one pitch on the way, swung on and missed, 0-2. He's hit as many as 34 home runs for the Rockies, and he has driven in as many as 117. He did all of that in 2010, and he also hit .338. No balls and 2 strikes the count. The next pitch to Cargo, as they call him, very high. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brett Butler at one time had him in the minor leagues, talking about all of his abilities, and he said he is a 5-tool player. He can do it all. 1-2 to Carlos Gonzalez, and he looks at a pitch off the plate, 2-2. The Greinke working very carefully, and of course more trouble on deck. Troy Tulowitzki. Tulo without the famous mullet that he wore for years. Here's the 2-ball, 2-strike count pitch, and it is low and away, ball 3. A few years ago, Carlos Gonzalez hit a double in a game for the A's, and he became the first player to have the first 7 hits of his career all go for extra bases. The last player to do that, Johnny Mize, who's in the Hall of Fame. John did it back in 1936. 3-2 pitch taken very high, ball 4. Mize in his heyday was called the Big Cat. So with 2 down, Gonzalez at first, and here's Tulowitzki. Troy single to drive in the run in the first inning. Tulowitzki now 10 for 31 in his career against Greinke, and hitting .375 for the season. The star from Sunnydale up north. Tulo, right-hand batter, almost erect at the plate. Throw to first. Gonzalez diving back to the bag. Gonzalez has not been involved in a stolen base. He doesn't do a lot of running. Last couple of years, maybe 3, but he had 3 years in a row where he stole over 20. The pitch to Tulowitzki finds the mark. No balls and 1 strike to Troy. Tulowitzki has a tremendous arm. Everybody talks about it, and I'm sure they're right. Probably as strong an arm that ever came and played the game at shortstop belonged to Sean Dunston. Here's the strike 1 pitch in the dirt, gets by Grandal, goes to the backstop, and down to second base goes Gonzalez. So Tulowitzki now up there with a chance to pick up a run and break the tie. Grandal trying to backhand the ball. It went just under the glove. I assume they will call it a wild pitch because the ball was in the dirt. Oh, that's not necessarily the reason to call it a wild pitch. And it will be a wild pitch. So 1-1 the count. Tiebreaker at second base with 2 out. Greinke delivers in the dirt, gets away from Grandal. There goes Cargo to third. So Greinke bouncing a couple. His first 2 wild pitches of the year. So a walk with 2 out to Gonzalez. Wild pitch sends him to second. Wild pitch sends him to third. Making it tough on Grandal, bouncing those pitches. So you have the left-hand hitting Justin Morneau on deck, and Tulowitzki is up there. 2 balls and 1 strike. Tulowitzki, with a runner in scoring position, is hitting better than .500 right now. Tulo swings, hard ground ball to third. Uribe stays with it and gets it to Gonzalez. So Greinke gets away with the wild pitches. No runs, no hits, a man left at third, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 1-1. He has had 7 ground ball outs. That has really helped him. As we go to the bottom of the 3rd, and he talks to Rick Honeycutt, it'll be Peterson, Greinke, and Rollins in that order. Young Jock last night almost had the thrill. Came up with the bases loaded, 2 out, hit a ball to right field, and Charlie Blackmon caught it right at the scoreboard. So that close for a grand slam. Good breaking ball at 76, drops in. 0-1 the count. Jock hitting a solid 290, and of course a marvelous outfielder. Swings, fouls it back, and he's in a hole now. No balls and 2 strikes. We were talking about Greinke and his years. Lyles has a great record in April, so-so in May, poor in June, and dreadful in July. He's 0-7 in July in his career. Then he bounces back, but he's still under 500 in August and September. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Yeah, June and July total, he has 4 wins and 15 losses. The 1-2 pitch whacked foul into the stands down the right field line. Young Jock back up at the plate. He'll be 23 on the 21st of April. They load up the right side on Jock, and the 1-2 pitch all the way to the backstop. A high 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Lyles changed his grip on one of his pitches, and it seems to help him a great deal. Changed the grip on his curveball. 2-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed on a pitch down and away. So Peterson strikes out. That would be the 2nd strikeout for Jordan Lyles. Remember, Lyles came in with a good ERA of 2.2. I mean, he's a big man. He has a very heavy sinking fastball. We've seen that. Then he has the curve and the slider. The curveball, he's changed the grip. He also has a cutter and a changeup. And the changeup, they say, is really a money pitch for him. So here's Greinke, a silver bat hitter, and drives the perch in the right center for a base hit. Cargo cuts it off, and Greinke will hold with a long single. So the winner of a silver bat just walks up and bangs it into the gap. A nice cutoff by Gonzalez, and the batter will be Jimmy Rollins. 3 hits against Riles, 1 run in this 1-1 tie. Greinke hit it right on the button, and only a fine right fielder like Gonzalez could cut it off. Jimmy Rollins flied to center. Jimmy 0 for 1. Outfield, even though Jimmy's switch hitter batting left-handed, if anything shaded a little bit towards left, and the pitch outside. They don't expect Rollins to pull Lyles, so Gonzalez gives him just about all of straightaway right field. Gonzalez beyond the scoreboard in right, so it's wide open over there should Jimmy pull the ball. The 1-0 pitch is taken off speed. 2-0 to count. Jimmy Rollins trying to keep it going here. A 1-out single by Greinke. 1-1 bottom of the 3rd. Out of the stretch goes Lyles. Jordan set. Here he comes, and a check swing, but it's a strike, and the count 2-1. Fastball on the outside part of the plate. Jimmy let it go by. Arenado's about even with the bag at 3rd. Now Cargo has moved over a bit to right, and the pitch away, ball 3, 3-1. Gonzalez had been, if you drew a line, he had been beyond the scoreboard in right field. Now he's moved back in a little bit. Interesting how the outfielders will change on the count relative to the pitch. The 3-1 pitch on the way. Rollins takes way off the plate. Ball 4. So the Dodgers have runners at first and second with 1 out. Yasiel Puig will be coming up. Anxious moment for Walt Weiss. Yasiel Puig hit a bullet, and somehow the marvelous fielding third baseman Nolan Arenado was able to backhand it. The ball was ripped. So Yasiel hitting .214, 2 home runs, 3 runs batted in, with Adrian Gonzalez behind him. Puig struggling especially early with runners in scoring position. He has one right now in Greinke, and Yasiel is 0 for 8 in the money clutch. So the right-hander checks in. Here comes Lyle's pitch inside under the hands. Looked like Yasiel was going to take that pitch no matter what. He had the reputation last year, you remember, of really being a first ball hitter. 1 ball and no strikes. Puig waiting. Now the 1-0 pitch swung on, staggered him a little bit. He swung so hard, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. So Puig, who took the first one, got one right over the plate, almost hurt himself. Kind of had his feet stuck in the ground. Now slowly getting back up. 1 ball and 1 strike. We have a 1-1 tie, bottom of the 3rd. Jordan Lyles on the mound for the Rockies. 2 on for the Dodgers, 1 out. Pitch to Puig. Check. It's inside under the hands. Ball 2. 2-1 the count. Lyles, a couple of years ago in the minor leagues with Houston, was declared the minor league pitcher of the year, so it didn't take long for him to burst upon the National League scene. 2 balls and 1 strike. In August of last year, Jordan Lyles went on the DL with a broken left hand. He had been involved in a minor car accident as a passenger in the middle of July. That had nothing to do with the decision about the fact that he had the bad hand. So he went on the 60-day DL. Lyles 1-0 this year means a great deal to this ball club. Last year with the Rockies, Jordan 7 wins, 4 losses. That was his first year with Colorado. So 2-1 the count to Yasiel Puig. The pitch is swung on, lined in the left field, base hit, speared by Dickerson. They'll stop Greinke at third. And the Dodgers have loaded the bases as Yasiel drills one into left field. And here comes Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez.
Well, certainly the Dodgers have the right man in the right spot. In a 1-1 tie, Puig loads them up. And here's Adrian, who popped up in the first inning. So Greinke at third, Rollins at second, Puig at first, 1 out. Bottom of the 3rd, 1-1 tie. Adrian fouls the first pitch away, 0-1. Giants leading the D-backs 2-1 in the 4th inning. David Peralta just hit a home run for the D-backs. Adrian just tearing them up in hits, doubles, on-base percentage, slugging, and a very cool .537 batting average. Greinke, Rollins, and Puig out there, and the strike 1 pitch to Adrian, swung on, ground ball to short. Tulo, the quick feed to LeMahieu, throw to first in the dirt, gets away from Morneau, and the run scores. So the Rockies mess up what looked like a sure double play. LeMahieu had a nice feed from Tulowitzki and made a bad throw. Of course, Walt Weiss was the shortstop. He knows all about the problems of an infielder. But that sure looked like a double play. Nice feed from Tulo and a bad throw at first, and Morneau unable to come up with it. So it turns out to be a force play instead of inning ending. Greinke scores. There's no error charged. And now they're saying yes, error. Of course, they used to say you can't anticipate a double play. All right. And here's Howie Kendrick, and he takes on the outside corner for a strike, 0-1. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 2 hits for the Rockies. Bottom of the 3rd inning. Kendrick, ground ball, smothered at first by Morneau, who takes it to the bag. So the Dodgers wind up scuffling with 2 hits, a walk, get a break when the Rockies miss a double play. And at the end of 3, it's 2-1 Dodgers. ...2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. 4th inning with the Dodgers leading 2-1. By the way, if you're keeping score of the game, as we mentioned, you are not allowed to anticipate a double play, even if it looks like a cinch double play. And certainly that's what it looked like when Adrian Gonzalez hit the ground ball. So despite the fact that LeMahieu made a bad throw, you cannot give him an error. So it's 2-1 Dodgers, 4th inning. And here's Justin Morneau, last year's batting champ. Off speed, drops in nicely at 74. 0-1 the count. Morneau hit by a pitch in the 1st inning. Off to a slow start, hitting .222. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and Morneau ground foul. 0-2. Morneau, an MVP when he was playing with the Twins back in 2006. He's an award winner. He had 4 years where he hit 34 home runs, 31, 23, and 30, and as many as 130 runs batted in. Those years from 2006 through 2009. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Justin from New Minster in British Columbia. One and two. 2-2. When Morneau made his major league debut back in 2003, he hit cleanup. The 2-2 pitch on the way. And a line drive exploding by the mound into center field. So Morneau, a very gifted hitter. In fact, when you look at the first 5 hitters in the lineup, Blackman, Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, Morneau, and then Arenado. And then you have the left-hand hitting Dickerson. They have 6 very, very good hitters. And they don't have to play in Colorado to be good hitters. They're flat out good. So Greinke has allowed 3 hits, 1 run. And here's Arenado, who grounded into the double play started by Uribe in the first inning. 0-1. Nolan Arenado, an eye-catching third baseman. The very first time we saw him, you knew that they had a gem at third base. He's from Lake Forest. Went to El Toro High School. He certainly made an impression as a high school senior. He hit safely in 27 of his last 28 games. Hit .529, and the Rockies were all over to get him. He was a second-round pick. 6'1", 210, great career ahead of him. Nolan Arenado. 1-1. And with all of that, 24 years old. He was 24 Thursday. Two to 1 Dodgers, top of the 4th. Fastball off the glove of Greinke. Goes to second base and get the force play. A wonderful play by Greinke, and at the other end of a hurried throw by Howie Kendrick. That ball easily could have gone into center field, but the Gold Glove, Greinke was able to fight it to a standstill and then make a very tough play at second base. Nice catch by Kendrick to short hop it. So the force play 1-4. That takes Morneau off the base paths. Arenado is out there, and the batter is Corey Dickerson. Dickerson hitting .341. He's another very promising young hitter. We mentioned earlier, with runners in scoring position this early, he was 7 for 14, hitting .500 in the clutch. And a high drive into left center. Going back on the ball. Peterson one-hands it and gets it back to the infield. Arenado went all the way down thinking that ball had a chance to drop. But Peterson can really amaze, though, the ground that he covers, the jump that he gets, and then an unerring judgment as to where the ball is. So the ball was hit hard in that light sky. He had it all the way. Makes another fine play out there in center field. Of course, that's it. You look at the Dodgers, they used to always talk about the strength up the middle. You have a Gold Glove on the mound. You have 2 solid players around the bag at second and a wonderkind in center field. So here's Hundley, who popped up 0 for 1. 2 out, 4th inning. Dodgers lead the Rockies 2-1. Fouled away off to the right upstairs. So Hundley up there, no balls and 2 strikes. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits for the Rockies. The difference, the inability of the Rockies to turn what looked like a cinch double play. They didn't make it. Dodgers got the run, and that's the difference. 0-2. Down and away with a slider. Greinke 20-1 against the West should he win tonight. Imagine 20-1. Missing with the fastball, 2-2. Coming up to his 60th pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Just did get a little of that, did Hundley. 2-2 to Nick. Also another somewhat shocking number about Greinke. As a Dodger pitching at Dodger Stadium, in his career he is 19-4 here. Two and two. So after 61 pitches, still fighting Hundley. Peterson saved him some grief, that long fly ball, and Arenado holding at first base. Jock Peterson, boy, he can go and get him. And a high fly ball to right field, very playable. Puig is there, and that's that. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. And at the end of 3.5 innings, it's 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Third, and you'll get a kid's Yasiel Puig replica jersey presented by Rice Krispies Treats. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Dodgers 2 runs, 4 hits. Yasiel Puig tonight hit the ball hard, lined out to third, single to left, set up a run. So the Dodgers happy that he's healthy and back in the lineup. Meanwhile, Yasmani Grandal, a line drive single to right to drive in a run. He's gotten aboard some way or another in 20 straight games. Jordan Lyles ready to go to work, and here we go, bottom of the 4th. Loading up the right side, which is becoming so commonplace. Maybe we shouldn't even talk about it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Lyles has made 46 pitches. Greinke has made 62. 1-2 to Grandal. High fastball, looked like it might have been out of the strike zone. So Grandal goes down. 1 out in the 4th.
Number 16, Andre Ethier.
Lyles picks up his 3rd strikeout, and the batter is Andre Ethier, who was his first. Dodgers trying to win their 6th in a row at home, and they're trying to beat Colorado 8 straight times here at Dodger Stadium. Way off the plate. Ethier, who did a good job in right field, committed an error in left that helped give the Rockies a run. 1 ball, no strikes. High pop right outside of third. Now back in, and Arenado. So Nolan puts that away. 2 down, and the batter will be Juan Uribe. Ethier couldn't stand at the plate. That ball was fouled, then it started drifting back fair, and he couldn't play umpire, so he went to the bag. Uribe grounded into a double play. Hit a ground ball to LeMahieu, and that time they were able to get 2. Hit down the line, but late. Foul, 0-1. That was a good 92-mile-an-hour fastball. 0-1 to Uribe. Two to 1 Dodgers, 2 out in the 4th. Another foul ball off first. That'll go back. So staying with fastballs, 192 foul to right. The next one 93 foul to the right. So Uribe not able to catch up yet. Talking about catch up, the Giants now lead the D-backs 4-1. Brandon Crawford hit a 2-run home run. Giants have lost 8 in a row and 5 straight at home. They're the first defending champions in Major League Baseball history to lose each of their first 5 home games of the following season. Off speed after all those fastballs. 2-2 to Juan Uribe. Jock Peterson on deck. 2-2. Low fastball. They're going to check. Swing, says first base umpire Todd Tishner. Down goes Uribe. That would be the 4th strikeout for Jordan Lyles. So at the end of 4, 2-1 favor of the Dodgers. To the 5th inning. Tough ball game, and it'll be LeMahieu followed by Lyles, and then Blackman, the outfielder, and Greinke and Lyles really locked up in a dandy. The only difference, the inability of the Rockies to turn in what looked like an easy double play that allowed the tie-breaking run to score. LeMahieu struck out in the 2nd inning. It was his poor throw that ruined the chance for the double play and allowed the run to score. So DJ, a very good all-around player. He is 6 for 10 when he's up there with runners in scoring position, hitting .462. High fly ball to center. Peterson almost in his tracks. Maybe moved one step. One away. And again, you know, that's not by accident. The Dodgers have really gone to the numbers in order to have their defensive alignment in the outfield. It is no accident at all that Peterson was exactly there. Here's Lyles. Grounded to third in the third inning. Strike. On 1. In the dirt. Talking about the first game I ever did, it was a game to forget. Maybe that's why I don't remember anything about it. The final score of that game, Philadelphia 9 and the Dodgers 1. It was at Old Shibe Park. It looked like it was going to be a great game. It was Don Newcomb and Robin Roberts. No chance. Dodgers were blown out of the water in 3 innings. 1-2 to Jordan Lyles. 2-1 Dodgers, top of the 5th. Little punch ground ball. Waiting cautiously is Adrian to feed Greinke. 2 down in the 5th. Charlie Blackmon coming up. He opened up the game with a double to right field in the first inning and came around to score to put the Rockies on the board.
Number 19, Charlie Blackmon.
Charlie 1 for 2. And a strike. 0-1. Charlie Blackmon recorded his first major league home run on his 25th birthday and as a pinch hitter. Ground ball right to Kendrick. So a very easy inning for Zach Greinke as he walks off at the end of 4.5 innings. It's Dodgers 2, Rockies 1. Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. and by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. Dodgers leading 2-1, bottom of the fifth inning. Jock Peterson followed by Zach Greinke and then Jimmy Rollins. Jock Peterson struck out in the third, 0 for 1. Big changeup, ball one. When you're 6'4" and you stand on the mound and you wind up, I'm sure if you're the hitter, you're looking for 90 miles every time. Comes back with 2 off-speed pitches. Jordan Lyles pitching a tough ball game. He'd be even, except that blown double play. It's 2-1 Dodgers, bottom of the fifth. Fastball sliced away. Not the high hard one. That was the down and dirty fastball at 93. One ball, 2 strikes. Just missed. 2-2. Three and 2 the count. Lyles walked Jimmy Rollins in the third inning. And he has walked Peterson. So Greinke, a good hitter, single to right field in the third inning coming up. And Greinke came around to score when the Rockies messed up on the DP. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 3 hits for the Rockies. Greinke has made 70 pitches up to here, and he's gotten 10 ground balls. Greinke, one sacrifice. Looks like they're asking him to do it again. Peterson, good running speed, but he doesn't know the pitchers yet and their moves to first base. The bunt foul. 0-1. Greinke checking with Lorenzo Bundy to see if the bunt is still on. Arenado standing at third. Looks like an interested customer. He's watching Bundy to see if he can figure out the move and determine whether the bunt is still on. He's just been staring at Bundy. 0-1. Greinke, a long look. No balls, 1 strike. Lyles absolutely in no hurry. Greinke shows bunt, gets it down, picked up by Lyles, and makes the play to LeMahieu. So Greinke gets it down, does the job. Peterson advances to second, with the Dodgers trying to add to a 2-1 lead. Jimmy Rollins flied to center and walked. Jimmy 0 for 1. So Greinke does his job, gets his man in his scoring position. He gets a hero's welcome in the dugout. It's a lot tougher to do than it would appear, and they all know it. So Rollins trying to pick up Peterson. Tulowitzki is directly behind young Jock. And ball 1. Tomorrow, Brandon McCarthy and Eddie Butler. Final game of the series. Dodgers then go out on the road to San Francisco and San Diego, and then come right back here to play San Francisco. One ball and one strike. Fastball down and away. 2-1 to Jimmy. Dodgers scored when Kendrick doubled and Grandal singled him home, and the Dodgers got the big break on the messed up double play attempt, and the tiebreaker scored. Ball 3. Waiting on deck, Yasiel Puig, and he has crushed the ball. Line drive bullet snared by Arenado, and then a line single left. 3-1 the count with one out. Peterson at second base. Way outside. So 2 walks here in the 5th inning have put Lyles in a jam. He's walked 3 in the game. And here comes Puig. For Walt Weiss, tough moment. Two on, one out, 2-1 Dodgers, bottom of the 5th. Hundley trying to remind the infield, 1 out, try to keep the ball on the infield. On deck, Adrian Gonzalez. And did it hit him? No, apparently not. And Puig staring at Lyles. I don't think he said anything. Nick Hundley went to the backstop to get the ball. The Lyles, let's put it this way, just let one get away. Almost got Puig on the ribs. Yasiel staring, watching his lips. He just stared at Lyle, didn't say anything. So it is a wild pitch. Dodgers now at second and third, 1 out. First base open. And Lyles is giving him one of those, look at that guy. I let one get away, and he's declaring war. It depends upon your perspective, right? 1 ball and 1 strike. Giants trying to get well tonight against the Diamondbacks. Giants are leading 4-1 in the 5th. Giants are trying to snap an 8-game losing streak and a 5-game losing streak at home. Inside again, ball 2. Yasiel figures, I hit the ball hard. The third baseman made a great stop. Then I hit a bullet into left field for a base hit. So that first pitch was a purpose pitch. I don't know what that word is in Cuban. 2-1. Nice save by Hundley. So the bases would be open in a moment. 3-1 the count. And Adrian Gonzalez on deck. The horns of the dilemma for Lyles. Does he try to throw a strike and get it by Puig? Make him chase one with the danger of loading him up for Adrian. He's already walked 3. Three balls, 1 strike. Way off the plate. So Jordan Lyles suddenly walked the house, and the bases are loaded. And here's Adrian Gonzalez, a headache for Walt Weiss. Adrian Gonzalez in his career has 4 grand slams. The last one he hit 5 years ago against Arizona. So he has Puig, Rollins, and Peterson out there, 1 out, with Kendrick hitting behind Gonzalez. Gonzalez popped up and would have hit into the double play in the 3rd inning, except for LeMahieu's low throw, which gave the Dodgers the 2-1 lead. And a high fly ball into deep left center field. That's a way out there. A diving try by Blackmon is no good. 2 runs will score on the long single as Puig stopped at second, and the Dodgers lead 4-1. So Rollins and Peterson bring the runs home, and the Dodgers now sitting on a very comfortable lead. Got a pitch down. Did Adrian, drives it. There's Charlie Blackmon diving, but he was at least a foot away from it. Recovered by Dickerson, who comes over to play to carry him off the wall. So the longest single you're going to see, Puig holding up in case Blackmon caught the ball, and then the 2 runs coming home brought in by Peterson and Rollins. So 4-1 Dodgers, still only 1 out. Here's Howie Kendrick. And he drives one to center. This time Blackman's going to catch up to it, and the runners hold. Boy, how he hit that thing right on the screws.
Number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
So 1st and 2nd, 2 out, 2 runs in, 2 on base, and Yasmani Grandal coming up. Grandal singled to right and struck out, 1 for 2. Crowd really into it now. Dodgers got a big break. 3 walks from Jordan Lyles. He had only walked 1 in the first 4 innings. 0-1 to Grandal. 4 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors for Colorado. Dodgers trying to win their 6th in a row at home and beat Colorado 8 straight here at Dodger Stadium. 1-1. Puig away from second. Gonzalez at first. One and two. And a high foul, doubtful, in fact, for sure, out of play, except in the crowd behind the Dodger dugout. Grandal with a base hit in the 2nd inning, so he's been on base now 20 consecutive games going back to last year. Last time up, struck out. Waiting behind him, Andre Ethier. Two on, 2 out. So now the deuces are really wild, about as wild as they can get. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, 2 in. Lyle struggling to stay in. There's no action in the Colorado bullpen. High pop, and it'll be Nick Hundley. Foul ground. So a big out. However, the Dodgers get 2, leave 2, and lead at the end of 5, 4-1. Truly a memorable day. It was the Dodgers' first game at the Coliseum. There were over 78,000 people. Long before the game, there was a motorcade. The Dodgers were at the steps of City Hall. There were about 5,000 people there serenading them as well. Then they played the Giants before the big crowd, and the final score, Dodgers won 6-5. But there was a Dodger touch to the game that rubbed off on the Giants. Willie Kirkland tripled in Jimmy Davenport. Davenport missed third, and the Giants lost 6-5. Let's go back to this one. Normally, that game would have been a Dodger mistake. The Dodgers, of course, for years in Brooklyn were known for making mistakes on the base paths and all kinds of stuff, but it rubbed off on the Giants that day in 1958. Jimmy Davenport, who was the third baseman of the Giants, he wore the Dodgers out throughout the year, but he never got over missing third base, and they lost the opening day here by a run. Meanwhile, here's Cargo. Grounded to short, walked, and got as far as third. Four to 1 Dodgers, 6th inning. Boy, good location on that pitch. I think Cargo was looking for something somewhere else. And Greinke, watch where the pitch goes. And he had to go out there after it and fouled it back. Not just the velocity, it was the location. That was terrific. Zach's gotten 10 ground balls so far. Now he goes down and dirty, and Gonzalez strikes out. Greinke is not striking out people. He only has 2.
Number 2.
But as we said, a lot of ground balls. In fact, let's go the other way. He had one stretch where he retired 3 hitters in a row on fly balls. One of them, a fine running catch by Jock Peterson on a ball hit by Dickerson. Then Hundley followed with a fly ball to right, and then LeMahieu followed with a fly ball to center. Those are the only fly balls he's allowed so far. Slow curveball. That was right out of Kershaw. Dropped that in nicely for a strike. Tulo has singled and grounded hard to third. The outfield straight away and deep. And hit to right, slicing away from Puig down the line and going foul. I don't know if he didn't crack that bat. It had kind of a twang to it. 0-2 the count. It looks okay. Up here, it had that sound that he hit the ball and it might have given a little bit. Nope. It's all right. One out, 6th inning, 4-1 Dodgers. Tulo hitting .366. Tremendous shortstop. Tried that slow curveball again, but this time it didn't work. Greinke leading 4-1. Trying to pick up his 20th victory to go 20-1 against the Western Division. Wow. And hammered foul. That thing was foul the moment he made contact. Lands up on the club level. Tulowitzki over the years, about 22% of his at-bats produce extra base hits. Some guys wait 6, 7, 8 years in the minors to get to the big leagues. Tulowitzki, 14 months after he was drafted, he was a big leaguer. 1-2 in the dirt. Greinke going up against one of the better hitters in the league. Young Tulowitzki idolized Derek Jeter. And a high fly ball, but that's all it is. Peterson looks at Puig. So that would be the fourth fly ball against Greinke. And Justin Morneau coming up, hit by a pitch and singled. Greinke now has made 80 pitches. Jordan Lyles has made 81 through 5. Dodgers load up the right side, and that's ball 1. High pitch, ground ball to third. Maybe he was trying to go to left field. So Morneau goes after a bad ball, taps to third. Down go the Rockies in the 6th. And at the end of 5.5, Dodgers lead 4-1. April 29th, the Dodgers and Giants at 7:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive a Clayton Kershaw-themed fleece blanket. Compliments of security benefit. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Well, because of the 3 walks that Lyles committed in the 5th inning, as Kershaw does a little cheerleading tonight, Lyles has had 7 3-ball counts, and Greinke only 1. He walked Gonzalez in the 3rd inning. Andre Ethier followed by Juan Uribe and then Jock Peterson. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits for the Rockies. Check swing foul. Christian Bergman, a right-hander now, gets up in the Colorado bullpen. Lyle's spot is number 5 when they come up in the 7th inning. Little sliced foul. 0-2. Andre struck out and popped up. Lyles now 83 pitches. Had his control went south on him in the 5th inning. 3 walks, a wild pitch, and a base hit. Slicing fly ball to left field. On his horse is Dickerson and runs it down. Nice play by Corey. 1 away.
Number 5, Juan Uribe.
Juan Uribe will be coming up after a good play by Corey Dickerson. Uribe grounded into a double play and struck out. Uribe has been playing as a pro since 1998. So after about 18 years, he has a pretty good idea of the ups and downs of the game. Coming off a fine year last year where he hit .311. 1 ball and 1 strike. Holding up, check swing, no swing, says Todd Tishner. Fastball missed, ball 3. Lyles struggling now to find the strike zone. And he's missed again. So Lyles walked 3 men in the 5th inning. Now he walks Uribe.
Number 31, Josh Peterson.
And Josh Peterson coming up. Lyles, coming into this game, had walked 4 in 12 innings. And he's walked 4 now in 5 1/3 innings. So Peterson struck out and walked. On 1. High foul ball. 0-2. So Lyles really fighting the zone and losing. Walked 1 in the 3rd inning, walked 3 more in the 5th to give him the 4, and now his 5th walk to Uribe here in the 6th inning. All those walks cost him a run. No balls, 2 strikes. And down goes Peterson. And the batter will be Zach Greinke.
Zach Greinke.
5 strikeouts and 5 walks. And 92 pitches later, and Lyles is losing 4-1. Greinke singled in the 3rd inning, came around to score a run. Then last time up got the bunt down that set up a run. Strike. Jimmy Rollins waiting on deck. Whatever Greinke said, he laughed. Hundley laughed. Waiting on deck, a very serious Jimmy Rollins. Check swing, no swing. One ball and 1 strike. Off speed, a little roller, backhanded. The play will go to first, and that will be that. No runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end, it's 6. Dodgers 4, Rockies 1. by your Southern California Kia dealers. Visit mysocalkia.com to learn more. Don't forget, Thursday we'll go behind the scenes. The Dodgers host the 2015 Civil Rights Game in honor of Dodger legend Jackie Robinson. Don't miss Backstage Dodgers. That's Thursday at 7 on Sportsnet LA. Meanwhile, Dodgers lead 4-1, seventh inning. Nolan Arenado will start it off. Arenado tonight hit into a double play, rolled into a force play. Strike. Arenado came into the game hitting .316. He's right around 300 now. 0-1. Fastball away. And ball two. Arenado from Lake Forest. Two and one. And ball three. Arenado last year, you may remember, had a 28-game hitting streak. It was not only a club record, but it was the longest hitting streak in the big leagues last year. Of course, Andre Ethier hit in 30 straight in 2011. Willie Davis hit in 31 straight for the Dodgers back in 1969. Line drive going back, reaching up and unable to make the play is Ethier. And into second base goes Arenado with a double. So that thing was ripped. Andre, no way to get back and get under it. So that'll bring up Corey Dickerson after a line drive double to left field. Breaking ball, and Arenado was really on it. Ethier, pulled, I think, by the power of that drive, took off on him. In the Dodger bullpen, Chris Hatcher gets up. So Arenado's line drive takes off on Ethier. Hatcher begins to warm up. Greinke has made 87 pitches. And now he's got the left-hand hitting Dickerson, followed by Hundley, the catcher. Dickerson hit back to the box. He whacked one to left center, and Jock Peterson made a fine catch. That was back in the fourth inning. So far, Greinke has allowed just one run, 4 hits. Greinke went 7 scoreless innings last time out on Sunday against the Diamondbacks. Actually, Greinke is undefeated in his last 11 starts, including the postseason. Dating back to last year, he'd be 6-0 with a great ERA of just 1.8. 1-1 to Dickerson. One ball and one strike. Ball two. Looking out on the field, it is the kid who's old school. Jock Peterson in center field, the only one showing the blue stockings everybody else down around the ankles. Two and one. And a high fly ball to left. Late start by Ethier, but he goes back and picks it off as it bangs into the wall. On his way to third is Arenado. That ball was well in the air before Andre moved on it. Of course, he played so well in right field for so long. Might be a different perspective out there in left. Ball hit. Now he starts to move. So a nice play on the long fly ball. Arenado wisely takes third. Here's Nick Hundley. Popped up, flied to right. So Ethier so valuable. If Puig was down, he's in right field. If Crawford needs a day, he's in left field. If Peterson needs a day, he'd be in center. Now let's see. Mattingly rarely goes out. He wants to find out about Greinke. Are you all right? Do you have enough? Hatcher's down in the pen. Nope, he's been assured that Zach's okay. The batter will be Hundley and then LeMahieu. So Hatcher slows down the pace in the pen. Arenado at third, one out in the seventh. Dodgers lead 4-1. You get the feeling that going 7 Sunday against Arizona, he's in the seventh tonight. This might be Greinke's last inning anyway. And ball one. Greinke's been a bit wild. Remember, in the third inning, he bounced a couple. It would cost him a run should he bounce one now. High fastball. Both pens are busy. Hatcher in the Dodger pen. Bergman and Brown in the pen for Colorado. Brown on the right. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hit foul off to the right. 1-2 the count to Hundley. Hundley came into the game hitting .290. Average right now .273. One ball and 2 strikes. Big slow breaking ball, 68. That's the slowest pitch he's made tonight. Pitch number 96 coming up. Fastball. So from 68 to 92, and the count's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Honeycutt making his notes. Mattingly sweating it out a little bit. You get the feeling that Greinke is pushing himself a little bit now as he gets ready to make his 97th pitch. Got him. Big out to strike Hundley out. So Nick goes 0 for 3, 2 down, and the batter will be DJ LeMahieu. He went to the fastball, no doubt about it.
Now batting, number 9.
So he still has a little petrol in the tank. Hundley last night struck out 3 times and walked. Though he strikes out now, it's a rough series for the catcher. LeMahieu has struck out and flied to center. They'll go to the bench. Mike McHenry comes out. Stocky, right-hand batter on deck. Nice smothering stop by Grandal. 1 ball, no strikes, and Zach 2 pitches away now from 100 as McHenry works. McHenry batted last night and struck out in the 7th inning. 1 ball and no strikes. High foul, out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. So he still can hit 90 miles an hour, and he is ready now to make his 100th pitch. There you see, he hasn't really had to slave in any inning. 17 pitches the most. He'll go over the 17 right now here in the 7th. 2-1. Dodgers 4 runs, 5 hits. The Rockies 1 run, 4 hits. And he goes 3-1. J.P. Howell, the left-hander, has joined Chris Hatcher in the Dodger bullpen. For the 2nd time in the inning, Greinke has a 3-ball count. You know how many 3-ball counts he had in the first 6 innings? 1. Fastball, and at 90. So he's now made 102 pitches. He's gone 3-2 to LeMahieu. 2 down, 7th inning. And a high fly ball into deep left center field. That has a lot of carry. It is gone. B.J. LeMahieu hits the home run. Greinke was hanging on, and that brings the Rockies right back in the game. Dodgers 4, Rockies 3, and LeMahieu hits it out. So now McHenry will be coming up to bat for Lyles. Arenado on his double, he comes home, and then LeMahieu.
Number 8, Michael McHenry.
So you got the idea that Greinke was kind of hanging on, but he's such a battler. Mattingly allowed him to stay in. The 3-2 pitch of LeMahieu was a strike, and LeMahieu hits it out. So Zach gives it his best shot, makes 103 pitches, goes out leading 4-3 with 2 out in the 7th, and we'll be back. starting to leak fuel in the 7th inning when he gave up the double and the long out to left, but he struck out Hundley. Mattingly thought about lifting him, but of course Greinke is one of his ace pitchers, and Greinke went 3-2 to LeMahieu, who then hit a home run. So we have a tough 4-3 game, and Chris Hatcher coming out of the Dodger bullpen. Big fella out of North Carolina with the Marlins last year. Dodger bullpen has been outstanding in the last 15 innings. McHenry fouls it away. Dodger bullpen over the last 15 innings, that's 4 games. They've allowed 1 run, 23 strikeouts, and the opponents have hit 120. But that was the last 15. Here's McHenry, stocky right-hander facing Hatcher. McHenry 5'10", 215. 1-1. So North Carolina versus Tennessee. McHenry from Knoxville went to Middle Tennessee State. Grew up watching Todd Helton. 1-1. 1-2. McHenry was on a high-level youth baseball team, a traveling team. The kids went to St. Louis. Todd Helton found out about it. He arranged for them to come to St. Louis, took care of the whole thing. He got the kids to sit in the dugout. They were able to walk out on the field. As Mike said, I'll never forget it. 1-2. Fastball at 96. McHenry basically a catcher, a 7th round pick by the Rockies. Meanwhile, Greinke still in line for a win. Bad ball, chased and missed. Down goes McHenry. That's the end of the 7th inning. Nice bit for Hatcher. 2 runs, 2 hits, nobody left. Bottom of the 7th coming up. 4-3 Dodgers. Bottom's trying to hold on now. as the Dodgers lead 4-3 here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Brooks Brown comes out of the Colorado bullpen. Dodger pen dispatch Hatcher to strike out McHenry. Brooks Brown out of Statesboro, Georgia, went to the University of Georgia and was originally a first-round pick of Arizona. As a freshman pitching for Georgia, he unintentionally hit a Georgia Tech player in the face with a pitch, and it really unnerved Brown and seemed to affect his confidence. As ball 1 to Jimmy Rollins. He eventually recovered and helped Georgia to the College World Series in 2006. Check swing, 2-0 the count. Jimmy Rollins flied to center and walked twice, scored a run. J.P. Howell and Pedro Baez down in the Dodger bullpen. And that drops in there nicely. 2-1 the count. Brown basically a sinking two-seam fastball, slider, curve, and change. They say best pitch, sinker, and maybe the slider. 2-1. 3-1. The Dodgers gratefully tonight received 5 walks from Jordan Lyles. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 5 hits for Colorado. And a drive into right center field and deep, and that ball is going to bounce over the wall. Ground rule double for Jimmy Rollins. So Rollins coming up with a base hit that puts him in scoring position. Puig, Gonzalez, and Kendricks coming up. Fastball up, out over the plate, and Jimmy was on it. So Brown gives up the double, and here is Puig, lined out to third, lined to single, to left field, and walked. Fastball whacked to left, racing over to pick it off, and he can't do it as Dickerson. So Rollins is around third. He will score on a double by Puig. It is 5-3 Dodgers. Boy, Yasiel returns to the lineup with a vengeance. Every ball he has hit has been right on the button.
Adrian Gonzalez.
So back-to-back doubles by Rollins and Puig. Dodgers now enjoy a 5-3 lead. And for Puig, he's had a walk, a single, a double. The one time they got him, he hit a bullet that was snared by Arenado. So Rollins leads off with the double, and they cash him in. Now Gonzalez popped up, hit into a force play, and that's the key really to the game at the time. It was a double play ball, and the Rockies failed to make the play. LeMahieu goes to first, Puig goes to third, and Howie Kendrick coming up. Gonzalez goes 1 for 4.
Number 47, Howie Kendrick.
Howie Kendrick double a left and scored a run. Grounded out and lined out since. Last time up, he hit the ball hard, but right at Blackman in center field. The infield up on the right side, halfway on the left. Ground ball pulled by the diving Arenado. With the infield in, he couldn't make the play. Kendrick on his way for 2. The throw not in time. Scoring is Puig, and the Dodgers lead 6-3. 3 doubles in the inning. Yasiel brings it in. So you can't have it both ways. They played the infield up. Arenado makes a play if he's back, but not on the edge of the grass, and he couldn't get it. So Rollins doubles, Puig doubles him home, Kendrick doubles home Puig. 6-3, and now here's Grandal. There was a single, struck out, fouled out. Trying to pick up Howie Kendrick. Fastball strike at 92. Eddie Butler tomorrow. He'll be going up against Brandon McCarthy. Check swing. That's going to cost him. No balls and 2 strikes to count. So Colorado got 2 in the top of the 7th to get close, and the Dodgers respond with 2 in the bottom of the 7th to open it up again. 6-3. Bad time for Walt Weiss for sure. Three doubles here in the inning. Oh and 2. Chased and missed. Was in the dirt. They'll record the out at first. So Grandal strikes out a second time. And the batter will be Andre Ethier.
Number 60, Andre Ethier.
Andre Ethier struck out, popped up, flied to left. Six runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers, 3 runs, 5 hits for the Rockies. Rockies have the top of the order in the 8th inning. Ball 1. That means Blackmon, Gonzalez, and Tulowitzki. One ball and no strikes. Dodgers 4 doubles tonight, 3 in this inning. Fastball hit back to Brown. That will do it for Ethier and for the Dodgers, but they double up. Pick up 2, and at the end of 7, Dodgers 6, Rockies 3. And Troy Tulowitzki had himself a base hit and a run batted in the first inning. Adrian Gonzalez most important play. Yes, he went 1 for 4, but it was the ground ball that should have been a double play. The Rockies threw it away, and that gave the Dodgers an additional run. Zack Greinke needed all the help. Wound up going as far as he could do, 103 pitches, served up that 3-2 pitch that LeMahieu hit for a 2-run home run, and then he had to give way to Hatcher, but Greinke is still the pitcher of record. So Hatcher came in, picked up a strikeout, and now J.P. Howell. They call it mix and match, and it has worked out very well so far for the Dodgers. I mean, the phone is ringing late in every game, and the response has been terrific. So Greinke went 6 2/3. Hatcher struck out the pinch hitter. Now JP will be facing the left-hand hitting Blackmon, the left-hand hitting Gonzalez, then the right-hand hitting Tulowitzki, and the left-hand hitting Morneau. Remember, the Dodgers also have the luxury of 3 left-hand pitchers in the bullpen. Adam Liberatore joining Paco Rodriguez and J.P. Howell. First pitch in for a strike. 0-1. Charlie Blackmon opened up the game with a double to right. Tulowitzki picked him up with a single. Since then, Blackmon twice has grounded the ball to Howie Kendrick. They're in the bottom of the 8th up north. Giants leading the D-backs 4-1. One ball and 1 strike to Charlie. Dodgers trying to win their 6th in a row and trying to beat Colorado 8 straight times here at Dodger Stadium. Tough play, accurate throw, a sliding put out by J.P. Howell. Boy, that's dangerous. Runner coming down. J.P. makes a nice play, and Charlie Blackmon flying by. They could easily have collided. Take another look. Adrian's going to have to hang it. J.P. slides, and there goes Charlie. In fact, Charlie's right foot hit Howell on the back, I believe. Very dangerous way. Right there. Watch Charlie's foot as Howell goes down. No, he avoided him. Good. Couldn't see the angle. Looked like it nailed him, but he didn't. But that's a tough way to get an out, having your pitcher slide into first base. 1 out in the 8th. Here is Carlos Gonzalez, grounded to short, walked, struck out. Ball 1. On deck, Troy Tulowitzki. Carlos had a very quick year last year. He had season-ending surgery on his left knee in August, and he was done for the rest of the year. 2 balls, no strikes. Foul back. Gonzalez against the Dodgers has always worn them out. He's like a .340 hitter in his career, but not when he comes here. In the sense, he has 15 home runs against the Dodgers, 3 here, and here hitting in the 290s. 2-1. 3-1. One out, 8th inning, 6-3 Dodgers. In on the hands, 3-2. Up north, Giants are winning 4-1. Chris Heston gave the Giants 7 2/3 innings, allowed only 5 hits. Romo got the last out in the 8th. Ruby De La Rosa gave up all 4 Giant runs. Curveball whacked to center right at Peterson. Two out in the 8th inning, and Troy Tulowitzki coming up. Tulowitzki single to left to drive in Blackman in the 1st inning, grounded to 3rd in the 3rd inning, and flied to right in the 6th. JP with 2 out in the 8th inning. Try to sneak a little fastball in there. 1 ball and no strikes. James Philip Howell by name, out of Modesto, lives over in Phoenix. Originally a 1st-round pick by the Kansas City Royals. Went to school at the University of Texas. He started his collegiate career at SC, then went to Texas. 2 balls, no strikes. (3-0). Left-hand hitter on deck, Justin Morneau. Got it in there. 3-1 the count to Tulowitzki. That's in there at the knees. 3-2. Big pitch with a big hitter on deck. Dropped the curveball for strike 3 called. Oh, what a pitch. What a time to throw it. So Tulowitzki frozen. Howell made that tough play at first. I think that took a little bit out of him. But that breaking ball drove Howell to his knees. But it also nailed Tulowitzki. Big pitch. We're heading for the bottom of the 8th. 6-3 Dodgers. Dodgers all season this year with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. So get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet.
Number 5.
J.T. Howell makes a sliding putout at first base and then makes the pitch of the night, that slow curveball that froze Troy Tulowitzki. So Yasmani Grandal sitting alongside of him. New pitcher Rafael Betancourt for Colorado, and he'll be pitching to Juan Uribe. Betancourt from Cumaná in Venezuela. Fastball fouled away. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Joel Peralta begins to loosen up. There's Joel. He'll be facing Morneau, Arenado, and Dickerson, 3 very good hitters. Betancourt, 6'2", 215. Big man, been around. He'll be 40 the end of April. Originally signed with the Red Sox way back in 1997. One and two to Uribe, who has hit into a double play, struck out, and walked. 6 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Rockies. Little foul, out of play. Betancourt, growing up in Venezuela, might have wanted to be a pitcher, but his hero was Omar Vizquel. He was thinking about being a shortstop. He was an infielder until 1997. It was the Red Sox who moved him from shortstop to the mound. 1 and 2. 2 and 2. Pretty good fastball, curveball. Interestingly, he often uses a softball for pregame long tosses. A lot of Latin players grow up using the softball for long toss. You have to focus on wrist movements and finger placement to throw that. Meanwhile, Uribe bangs one down the line for a base hit. That is welcome news for Juan. He goes 1 for 3 with a walk. So Jock Peterson coming up. Peterson has struck out twice, walked, scored a run. Final score, the Giants finally do it. They got their rings before the game, so they played like world champions. They beat the D-backs 4-1. They snapped a 5-game losing streak at home and an 8-game losing streak overall. So the rings did it. Ball 1. Waiting on deck, Justin Turner. He'll be hitting for J.P. Howell. One ball and 1 strike. Betancourt has a habit. We'll watch and see how many times he does it. He's always had the reputation, there he goes, of pulling at the bill of the cap. During the time he's in the game, he wears the bill of the cap out. In fact, if you're suspicious, you would think, well, there's something underneath that bill, but it's dry. He's legitimate. It's just a habit. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball at 90. One and two to young Jock. He doesn't get cheated up there. When he decides to swing, he'll bust the laces on his shoes. One ball, two strikes. Got him again. So for Peterson, he strikes out 3 times tonight as he goes to school. 1 out. And Justin Turner coming up. He will bat for J.P. Howell, who made 15 pitches in his relief assignment. So Turner hitting .222, 2 for 9. Uribe at first, 1 out in the 8th. Dodgers lead 6-3. Rockies will have Morneau, Arenado, and Dickerson in the 9th inning. Bill of that cap. There goes the runner. The pitch outside, the throw on the wrong side. So Uribe steals a base. Little sheepish grin on Uribe's face. I'm sure he's going to hear about that in the clubhouse. Bad throw by Hundley. Uribe had a pretty good jump. So he steals a base. Juan Uribe 2 years ago had 5 stolen bases. He had none last year. Uribe, you know, once played for the Rockies, and going way back, he had 9 stolen bases for the Rockies, but that was 2002. So you just don't expect a stolen base from Juan Uribe. Turner on a 1-ball, 1-strike count. And popped in the air, foul behind the plate. Hundley comes back to the screen, but it's on the other side. Colorado actually led in this game. They got a run in the first inning. Dodgers came back with a run in the second, a run in the third, then 2 more to open it up 4-1. Rockies got 2 in the 7th to make it close 4-3. The Dodgers came right back with 2 to lead 6-3. We have 1 out, bottom of the 8th inning. Fastball poked foul down the line. Back into the crowd, and a nice crowd it is. The paid attendance tonight, 45,912. 45,912. A happy Saturday night crowd, and especially seeing the Dodgers come from behind and take a 6-3 lead at least into the 9th inning. 1-2 to Justin Turner. And hit in the air, but playable. Blackman is there. Uribe holding. Charlie gets his ball back into Tulowitzki. So Turner a fly ball. 2 down, and Jimmy Rollins coming up. Rollins flied to center, walked twice, doubled, scored twice. Led the Dodgers to bounce back in the 7th inning when their lead was threatened. So Uribe at second with 2 out in the 8th inning. Joel Peralta getting ready to pitch the 9th inning for the Dodgers. Oh, 0-1 to Jimmy Rollins. Fastball away. 1 ball and 1 strike. There you go. Young lady, that's just great. As long as you can wash that tattoo off, we're all for it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Off speed, dropped in nicely. So Betancourt fussing with the hat, trying to get some outs. The big man has 2 out here in the 8th inning. One ball and 2 strikes. Fastball away. I remember a long time ago doing a ball game in the Coliseum, and the pitcher was a fellow named Bob Miller, who eventually became a Dodger. And almost before every pitch, like Betancourt pulls the bill of his cap, Bob Miller would reach back and tug the back top of his uniform shirt all time. After the game, he pitched a dandy, and he was the guest on the show. And Jerry and I asked him, "Why do you pull on the shirt?" He said, "What?" I said, "Why do you pull at the shirt before every pitch?" He said, "I don't pull on." I said, "Yes, you do." Foul back. Although I'm sure if you said to Betancourt, "Why do you pull on the bill of your cap?" he'll have you maybe just a nervous reaction or whatever, but he's famous for doing that. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 out. Uribe at second base. Dodgers lead 6-3 in the bottom of the 8th. Yeah, that's right. Give it another tug. And another. And a third. And a fourth. Two balls, 2 strikes. Missing ball 3. It takes Betancourt a while to pitch. Waiting on deck, Yasiel Puig. And that's bad for the fielders behind him. 3-2. Foul back. And got him on a pitch out of the strike zone. Off speed. Jimmy fooled. Down he goes. So they leave Uribe. Betancourt does his job. And we're heading for the 9th inning. Dodgers 6, Rockies 3. hits and an error. And the Rockies 3 runs, 5 hits and no errors. Dodgers give the ball to Joel Peralta out of Bonao in the Dominican Republic. Originally signed by the A's out of Ventura Community College in 1996. He was signed as a shortstop. So Betancourt, the same story, and both men wind up on the mound. Thing about Peralta, he aged in a hurry. In 2002, they found out he was 4 years older than previously reported. So now that that's squared away, he's 39 years old. So Joel Peralta pitched for the Angels, the Royals, the Rockies, the National, the Rays again, and now with the Dodgers. Justin Morneau, last year's batting champ, hit by a pitch, single to center, grounded to third, 1-4-2. Big curveball for a strike. 0-1. No balls and 1 strike to count. 6-3 Dodgers, 9th inning, trying to win their 6th in a row. And also trying to beat Colorado here at Dodger Stadium for the 8th straight time. Tomorrow, 1:10, Brandon McCarthy on the mound for the Dodgers. Eddie Butler will be on the hill for the Rockies. 1 ball, 1 strike. High fly ball into deep left center. Peterson on the run at the track at the wall. Nice play by Jock. Long out. 1 away. Yeah, Peralta takes his cap off. Meanwhile, Peterson, a little shy, whatever Ethier said. He just seems to get a good jump on the ball. He's in motion. You can see if you don't get the good jump, the ball, that'll be on the wall. So a nice play by Jock. 1 out in the 9th inning. And the batter will be Nolan Arenado. Round of applause from Peralta. And look at Yasiel. Yeah, they all love young Jock. He's a good kid, quiet, very modest, and he can sure go get him. Of course, it's the question of all of them. Will he hit? Arenado hit into a double play, hit into a force play, doubled, and rode home on the home run by LeMahieu. Made a fine spearing catch of a bullet hit by Puig in the 1st inning. One ball, no strikes. 2-0. Joel Peralta, 5'11", up 205 pounds. He and J.P. Howell have been together now 3 different times, with Kansas City, with Tampa Bay, and now with the Dodgers. Two balls and no strikes. Joe Madden, the manager of the Cubs, has high praise for Peralta. In fact, he said he will be a fine pitching coach one day, if that's what he wants to do. Basically, his out pitch is a splitter. Then he has the fastball and slider. Three and 0. And missed it for ball 4. So the walk will bring up the left-hand hitting Corey Dickerson. Hit back to the box. Robbed of an extra base hit on a fine running catch by Jock Peterson. And last time up, flied to left. Flied to left deep enough whereby Arenado was able to move to third. Nick Hundley, right-hand batter, on deck. No one throwing in the Dodger bullpen, so it's up to Peralta. Slow and in there. So the Dodgers used Hatcher, Howell, and Peralta tonight. Last night it was Rodriguez, Garcia, and Liberatore. The Anderson game, they used Rodriguez, Hatcher, and Baez. So the bullpen has been very busy every day, but more importantly, the work has been spread out amongst a number of pitchers, and they've done exceptionally well. 0-2. Dickerson, a very fine hitter, 0 for 3 tonight. Greinke, Hatcher, Howell, Peralta, and for the Rockies, Lyles, Brown, and Bettencourt. 0-2. And whack to right, but Puig coming up makes the catch. No play at first. Arenado is not going to go very far. 2 down in the 9th inning, and Nick Hundley coming up. Hundley has had a tough 2 games. Hundley last night struck out 3 times and walked. Tonight he has struck out, fouled out, flied out. 0 for 3. There goes the runner. They'll let him go. High pop foul. It's your rebate. And that'll do it. The Dodgers have now done it. They've won 6 straight at home. They have beaten Colorado 8 straight times now here at Dodger Stadium. Peralta made 11 pitches to put the lid on it. 6 runs, 9 hits, an error for the Dodgers. 3-5 and 0 for Colorado. The Dodgers did it with extra base hits. They had 4 doubles, and it was the Rockies that had the only home run. The player of the game marks the return of Yasiel Puig. He lined out, walked, singled, and doubled, and had a big night. Tomorrow, it will be Brandon McCarthy going out on the mound. Eddie Buckler will be there for Colorado. Game time 1:10. We'll talk to you then. Till then, we wish you all a very good evening, everybody.